Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at eTrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our Swagman Chinook 2-bike platform rack right here on our 2020 Toyota Camry. The Swagman Chinook is probably going to be my favorite bike rack in terms of if you want something that is affordable, fits your 1.25" hitch, but also has a bit more weight capacity than your regular bike racks. So we'll talk about those features, but we are going to focus today on our Camry and how it works with our sedan. That way we can see what is the better fit for you, your different types of bikes, and your vehicle. The first feature we'll take a look at is the tilt away feature. So if we open up the trunk right now, you can see that we do not have clearance with our handlebars. We can still reach in real quick to grab something, but we can actually tilt this bike rack away with the bikes on. So we're gonna have this lever here that says pull. So pull that lever, just let that bike rack drop down. We have a pretty good tilt, and you can see here that we now have plenty of clearance between our trunk and our bikes. This gives us all that space to grab whatever we need. Once we just close that lid, lift up on the rack, it snaps into place, and now we can hit the road again. So this bike rack has a weight capacity of 45 pounds per bike, which is very impressive for a bike rack that fits into an 1.25" hitch receiver. So the way that works is because most of the weight is held down by our metal wheel cradles. So those hold our rear and our front wheels. We have the strap that goes around, has a stabilizer before it tightens everything down. Here in the middle, we have our frame mount. So this actually is working more to stabilize your bike's frame than to hold it down. So because of that, you don't need to push down as much on that frame mount, and you can lock it too. So once this is locked, this secures it and you can't lift it back up, help keeping your bikes a little bit more safe on the road. But to take your bike off, you start over at the wheel strap. So you just press that lever that disengages the strap, allowing you to lift it up, and this just drops over to the side, which is great because then it doesn't get caught up in the spokes. So that's one strap, and here's our second strap. With those released, you can now release the frame mount. So once they are unlocked, you can press that lever, lift up on the mount. Now Swagman has it where you can actually take these mounts completely off and then lower that center mass, which is an option for you, which may be helpful, especially once you have the heavier bikes on there. But with how much clearance we have with our Camry, I'm actually just gonna take a shortcut here and just move this over to this side, and just like that, we are now ready to go on a bike ride. With the bike off, we're going to take a closer look at the rack itself. So we have these cradles, and these, once you loosen that loop here, can slide back and forth for different wheelbases. Notice also the grooves on the inside, and then you have that stabilizing block on top. Now the maximum wheelbase you can carry with this is going to be over 50-inch long bikes. Now this is actually a pretty compact bike rack and doesn't add much length to the back of your Camry. But let's take some measurements to see exactly how much. Measuring from our bumper right over here to the end of the rack, which is by our wheel cradle, that sits at 25 inches. So this is an important measurement to keep in mind when backing into your garage or parking into a tight spot. You already have a really small vehicle, so it's helpful to remember that you do have a little bit of extra clearance to think about when you have two bikes on there. Now with your Camry though, a very important measurement is going to be ground clearance, and that is going to be measured at the end of the rack to the ground. This sits at 15.25 inches. Now compare that measurement though with where your shank is, and that's only 8.75 inches. So you can see here how this has a shank rise. Very helpful for your sedan. When you go up those steep inclines, like those driveways or hills, your front goes up, your back goes down. When you don't have enough ground clearance, you want that shank rise. That way your bike sit higher up off the ground. But another thing with that too is this is helpful because it's not too much shank rise. If you're lifting 45-pound bikes, you're only lifting them 19 inches up onto the air before they settle into those cradles. Now you can also turn this rack into something that's a bit more compact or portable. We have this lever here. You're going to want to pull on the mast as you pull that lever, and then this disengages that mast and you can push it forward. So another thing you can do is you can bring these hoops in and it takes up even less space. Why would you do that? Well, that's if you want even more access to your trunk, or if you want to fold this up. So that lever we pulled earlier, which tilted this away, pull that again, but this time lift on the rack and it folds up into place. Let's take some measurements. Now, since it folds up against the vehicle, some people may be worried about if there's enough clearance, but the closest point is going to be from the bumper to the front wheel mount, and that's going to be 2 3/4 inches away. The length this now adds to the back of your Camry is from the bumper to the end of the bike rack. It's going to be 14 inches. So not that much length added. This is going to be a bit of a difference compared to when this was folded down. You'll want it in this position when you're just planning on driving around town and you don't want to take up too much space. But what is it like living with a bike rack behind your vehicle all the time? Well, it's like it's hardly there. It sits so low below your sedan that your window is completely visible, your taillights are visible, your license plate and your backup camera is visible. Where this sits is just right above that lip, which means, again, you do have that full access into your trunk. You do kind of have to sit over that bike rack, but compared to some of the other bike racks that are available that sit a little bit higher up, this is like it's not even there. Now this has an 1.25 inch shank. It also includes a 2-inch hitch receiver if you want to use this with your other vehicles, but that 1.25 inch shank fits perfectly into the 1.25 inch hitch receiver. We have an anti-rattle bolt and there's also a lock included. That lock is key to the locks on the mast for the bike. That way you can lock up your bikes and your bike rack with the same key. Now to tighten that down, it is going to need a 3/4 inch wrench or a socket. We have some here at eTrailer if you want to keep an extra one inside of your trunk just to make sure that this is nice and secure. But with this tightened down into that hitch receiver, you can see as I shake our bike rack back and forth just to try to simulate that pro movement and vibration. It's a very sturdy bike rack. You can see that all that steel as well as that anti-rattle bolt works together to make for a solid ride. So my personal opinion on the Swagman Chinook is if you're looking for a bike rack that you can keep on your vehicle pretty much permanently, doesn't take up space, and it has a bit more weight capacity than most of the bike racks available for your Camry, this is the way to go. I think it checks off all those boxes pretty well. You have those integrated locks, you have that really sturdy steel cradle, and you have that great weight capacity. Maybe some downsides to this is going to be how heavy it is, as well as just maneuvering your bike over that mast. So make sure you follow the tips in my video with how to maneuver around those frame mounts. So all in all, solid bike rack. Maybe another step up would be the Kuat Transfer V2, but that's going to be a larger bike rack as well. Check out that video here at eTrailer if you're curious about that one. Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or a pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Now lastly, we're going over some full speed bumps, and we can see here the up and down action, and this will just be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway. But right here, right now, this was a look at the Swagman Chinook 2-bike platform rack on our 2020 Toyota Camry. My name is Evangeline, and I hope you enjoyed the journey.